In the recovery management, first we will see what kinds are possible, and if a failure occurs, how system is going to recover from the failure. This is a chapter. First we'll see what are the kinds of failure classifications. First we call transaction failures. Transaction failure means, say an example, you're withdrawing 10,000 rupees from your account and your account is not having sufficient balances. So withdrawing 10,000 will always become failed. Why? Because when you don't have sufficient funds in your account, you cannot withdraw the larger amount. That is called transaction failures. It is due to logical errors and system errors. Logical errors, nothing but just now I said insufficient funds, then you cannot withdraw such an amount because it is a logical error in the transaction that you are performing. And system errors, maybe system terminate an active transaction due to some internal error. And or else we have a system crash, means just like a power failures. If a power failure occurs, a transaction is going to be failed. Or else disk failure, because it is to read from the disk. Data is to be read from the disk. Suppose a head crash occurs, or else if there is a small scratches in the disk, so that read-write head in the disk may not read it properly, so that a failure is possible. If a failure occurs, what we have to do? Let us see an example. Here I'm writing one transaction which is transferring balance from account A to B, say 100. How 100 is to be debited? How 100 is to be transferred from account A to B? Just imagine. First, the amount is to be debited from A. Say assume account A is having 1000 rupees. Account B is having 500 rupees. See, first debit from account A, say 100 is to be debit from account A, it becomes 900 rupees. And it is to be created into account B, so that it becomes 600 rupees. Suppose if there is a failure in between these two, it means account A is debited before it credited, means account A is going to become 900 and B is going to become 500 itself, means it causes a loss. If loss occurs, what is to be done? Now this is a failure occurred in the transaction due to some internal error. Make sure the consistency of the database system we are going to learn in the chapter. First we have seen failure classifications. Failure is possible due to logical errors, we call transaction failures, or system errors are due to system crash or disk crash. Now we have to see how recovery is to be done. So recovery, to perform recovery, there are recovery algorithms or techniques to ensure database consistency and transaction atomicity and durability. Even though failure occurs, it has to satisfy this. Focus on the chapter is recovery algorithms. Recovery algorithms have two parts, means what actions to be taken during normal execution and what actions to be taken after the failure occurs. Just now we discussed, if you are transferring some amount from account A to B, say 100 you are transferring, account A is having 1000 and B is having 500. After debit from A is going to become 900. Before creating into B, if a failure occurs, it has to perform a recovery. General recovery process is rollback, means this 900 should become 1000. Just think about it. How this 900 should change to 1000? Means before A value changed to 900, it should maintain some information about this transaction T that is updating the data item A, whose previous value is 1000 and new value is 900. Means it has to maintain some information about the transaction T that is updating the data item A, whose previous value is 1000 and updated value is 900. Updated value is 900. This information has to be maintained by the database system so that whenever a failure occurs, we know what data item it is updating, that is A. What is its old value? What is its new value? This information is to be maintained by the database system to recover from the system. So that this action is to be taken during normal execution of the program. So means during execution of the transaction, this information is to be stored into the database system. After a failure occurs, this information again used to recover the database contents. Fine. So now how the database system is going to maintain information about the transactions, we have to see. For this, we have recovery algorithms. Before I start recovery algorithms, the two things to consider importantly, we call recovery and atomicity. We know atomicity, just recollect atomicity, either all operations of a transactions to be executed or none of the operations. Means modifying the database system makes sure that all updates are to be affected into the disk or no operations. As just now we discussed, T1 is a transaction transferring balance from account A to account B, say 100. So it requires debit from A, credit into B. If both debit and credit done, so that it becomes 900 and 600, it is correct. Or no operations are executed, we can say transaction is failed, but still the system is in a correct state. So this is called atomicity. Atomicity is required to ensure the system state should always be consistent. This is some theory is mentioned on the slide, just go through it. Now for ensuring atomicity, we have two approaches for the recovery. We call log-based recovery and shadow paging. It is important, just mark it. You can expect a question from the topic. Log-based recovery. Now, what is mean by log? You have to understand. A log is kept on stable storage. Stable storage is nothing but a permanent memory in the database system. First we'll understand what is a log. Log is nothing but a record which maintains information about the database activities. It means when transaction started and what updates are done to the transaction, when transaction is committed, such information is to be maintained. And where that information is to be maintained? In the stable storage. Stable storage is nothing but a permanent memory, like in the disk memory. But actually, it is not directly to the disk. First, it will be written into the local buffers. Then it is written right into the stable storage. Again, it is a process. But you assume that it is writing directly to the stable storage. So what log records it needs to maintain when transaction is executed? When transaction starts, it executes a log called, it creates a log called transaction started. Okay, it executes a log called transaction started. Yeah, 1 minute. Sorry. Whenever a transaction starts, it registers itself by writing a log called transaction started, so that the recovery system knows when transaction was started. After that, whenever the transaction writes a data item, like perform a write X operation, it maintains a log that what is the transaction, what data item it has written, what is the old value, and what is the new value. This is called an update log. Update log is maintained for each updates done by a transaction. Next, whenever TI finishes, it is to write a log called TI commit, so that we know that when transaction was started, what updates it has made to the transaction, what updates it has made to the database system, and when transaction committed. Means we know the complete information about a transaction. This information is useful if a failure occurs in a system. For maintaining the information about the transaction in a log, we call log records. We have two approaches. One we call deferred database modification. Another we call immediate database modification. Here you observe word deferred. Deferred is nothing but delayed modification. Means whatever the modifications you are going to do is going to be delayed. Means it is postponed. And second technique is immediate, means updates are done immediately to the disk. That is called immediate database modification. Now we'll discuss both of the techniques in detail. And only one thing you keep in mind, whenever a transaction is executing, it requires to maintain information about a transaction in a records called log records. And for every transaction, it is generally requires to maintain three records called start, update log, and commit log. Keep in mind these three. Now we'll discuss the techniques of recovery systems and deferred database modification, immediate database modification. First we'll start with deferred database modification. Again I am repeating, deferred is nothing but delayed. Means modification is delayed, not done immediately. That you keep in mind. How? Here in the deferred modification system, all modifications to the log, means all updates, are done only after partially commit. Only after partially commit means, say transaction performs read A, say performed some CP operation A plus 100 and performing write A. This is a transaction T, so that it has to maintain information about this transaction, stating that when it is started, when it is committed, and when it is updated. First, T, as soon as it starts its execution, it writes a log called T start, means transaction is started. And next, whenever it performs a write operation, it writes a log called T1, T transaction, change the value of A. Assume the value of A before update is 300 and after update is 400. We call it update log. And you observe a point that A is 300 in the disk, and the disk is not going to be get updated after this write operation. Disk is going to be get updated after a log is written with T commit, after T commit log. after t commit log, return to the disk. After t commit log, return to the disk. Now this buffer block, whatever the write operation is there, that is buffer block is to write to the disk with value 400. So it means whenever transaction T started, it returned a T start log. After it performs a write, previously we have learned that this write is affecting directly to the disk. Now instead of affecting directly to the disk, first this update information is noted into the log. Then it writes a commit operation because all operations are completed. We call it is partially committed. A commit log is written. Then this update is affected to the disk. That is what we call deferred, or we call delayed. Means update is not done immediately. It is delayed until the log is created in the log records, in the buffer blocks. Now, how recovery is to be done? How recovery is to be done? Means if a failure occurs, it has to recover. First, I will explain you how recovery is to be done for the serial schedule. Later, I will continue with concurrent schedules. Here you assume that first transactions are executing serially, one by one. Let us an example. Here, I do have two transactions. One is T0, which is transferring some amount from account A to B. Say it requires two update operations, write A, write B. And there is one more transaction, T1, and T1 also needs one update query, one update operation, writes. If these two transactions are running serially, and if any error occurs in a system, how it can recover from the failure, we have to learn. Let us write some log for transaction T0. Here in the example assumed T0 is started first. So it writes a log T0 start. And assuming the value of A is 100 and B here the value of B 200 and value of C, let us say 300. Now whenever T0 writes A, it writes a log that T0 updated A, old value 100. Now after debiting 50 from A, it is going to become 50. But this update, observe, this update is not affected to the disk. It is delayed. It is going to be updated to the disk afterwards. That is what we call deferred or delayed. Then read B, and keep in mind for read it won't require say log records, only for updates it requires. Read B plus 100 write B. Whenever it is performing a write B, it is going to write a log T0 updating B, its old value 200, after plus 50 it is 250. Then all operations of T0 is completed. It means it is partially committed but no commit operation is executed. So that it writes a log T0 commit. Here observing meaning that it is not committed to the disk means it is partially completed. Even if any failure occurs, this transaction need not to be rolled back. It is possible to recover. And T1, whenever it starts, it writes a log T1 start and changing the C, so that T1 updating C whose old value is 300 and with new value after 100 is debited it is going to become 200, and T1 commit. This is a log required. Okay, But observe a point, only logs are created, but disk is not updated. Disk can be updated at any point of time, but only after a log records transaction commit. Because transaction commit is there, it is possible to update the database with values A50 and B 250 and C it is 200. It can be updated only after commit operations. If no failure occurs, this is a log, and because no failure, all transactions are committed successfully and no need of any recovery process. Suppose if a failure occurs, how it can perform a recovery? That is a question, and that is a topic we have to understand. Now observe a point. Transaction T0 started, updated both A and B, and committed. It is committed B, sorry. Okay, if it is committed, so that is it requires any recovery process because it is already committed, whose updates are already present in the log. It doesn't require any modifications. Even if T1 also commits, it doesn't require any modification. Suppose a failure occurs. Here I will show you some cases. 3 cases I am showing you. Case 1, case 2, case 3. With respect to the previous transactions, transaction 0, debiting 50 from A, crediting 50 into B. Transaction T1, debiting 100 from C. Okay. Now we know that log records T0 start, update log on write A, update log on write B, and T0 commit, T1 start, update log on write C, and T1 commit. Suppose if a failure occurs. First case, T1 started and updated the value of A and B, and here you observe a log record. Here it is having only new value, not the old value. Why? Just again recollect the example that we discussed. T0 started. If A is 200, it is to debit 50 from A, so it become 150, and it has to write a log T0 A. Just imagine, after debiting, A is going to become 150. Just imagine, is 150 is required to maintain in the log, but is it required to maintain the old value 200 because it is not affected to the disk? Old value is already there in the disk. It doesn't require just old value. Now here in this case, it requires only new value. What is the new value? 150. New value is 150. Right. So that it doesn't require old value. Why? Because old value is already there in the disk. After T0 commit, the disk is to be affected with value 150. Now if it is already committed, then it never requires any old value. That's why this update to the disk is done only after the log record T0 commit is returned to the disk. Means for the deferred database modifications technique, it doesn't require old value, it requires only new value. Let us an example. First case, T1 started and update log on A, update log of B, and if a crash occurs, just tell me. And T2 not at all started. T2 not at all started because T1 started but not committed. Just if it is not committed, what does it mean? These updates are not affected to the disk. If it is not affected to the disk, a failure occurs. If failure occurs, it has to recover from the failure. How to recover from the failure? You can simply ignore the log, right? Why? Because its old values are already there in the disk. Say, assume A 1000, B 500. This is an update log. This is an update log, but it is not affected to the disk permanently. And because we don't have a log called T1 commit, because we don't have a log called T1 commit, if T1 commit is there, means transaction is completed. Because it is not completed, we have ignored this log, means no need of performing any operations. Ignore this log because the transaction effect is not there on the disk, because it is having its own old values itself. Suppose a case B, T1 committed. Assume the case it is not affected to the disk. Disk is now containing 1000 and 500 only. Only commit log is written. It is indicating that transaction is completed. And T2 changing the value of C to 500. Say because debit operation is there. But do we have T2 commit? No. T2 commit is not there. It means that do we require to do anything with the C value in the disk? Nothing, because C is having its own old value itself, because no commit operation. So what you can do, just ignore this log. But coming to this log contain both T1 start and T1 commit, but these updates are not there on the disk. Now what is to be done? It has to re-execute the log. Now log contains new values. So we call it is redo operation. Call it is redo operation. Means once again this log will be read from starting onwards and performs a redo operation. It means that changes the value of A and B to 950 and 550 respectively, so that it becomes 950 and 550. Means before commit only, even if the failure occurs, because commit log is there in the log buffer, log records, so that it can use this log information to update the disk. Now you observe a point. If T1 start and T1 commit both are there. If both are there, we have to perform which operation? Redo. If we have only T1 start but no commit, what we have to do? Because start is there for this case but no commit, what we have done? We have ignored. Ignore the log, means it is not harming the system. Now with this understanding, just tell me for the case of C. In the case of C, we have T1 start and T1 commit. So what operation is required to perform a redo operation? And T2 start is there but no commit. Because no commit, what operation is required? It has to be ignored. That you can see. In the first case, no redo actions. In the second case, redo of first one but not the second one. In third case, because start and commit both are there, it is a redo, and second one, no operation, ignore. Okay, as a summary, I'm telling you deferred database modifications. During recovery after a crash, if log contains both start and commit, then it has to perform redo operation, otherwise it has to ignore. This is as a summary point. Now we'll continue with the next technique called immediate database modification. Previously we understood deferred. Deferred means modification is delayed. Now it is immediate. Immediate means first it writes to the disk then only it writes to the log commit. Means first it is updated to the disk, later it writes a log commit. Means commit log is required only after it gets affected to the disk. That is what we call immediate database modifications. Modifications to the database is done immediately, but log will be written later onwards. Okay, here you see. There is a simple technique. In the immediate database modification scheme allows database updates of an uncommitted transactions to be made as the writes are issued. Means whenever it is performing a writes, immediately it is to be performed. Here you observe example. Transaction T0 started and there are two updates to the data A and B. And observe a point, this writes to the disk with new values are performed before commit. Just observe the difference between the two techniques. What is observation? Previously, these writes are done only after commit log is written. Only after the commit log, right? But now what is the difference? These updates are done before the commit log. So means only here is a difference. When these updates are takes place, is it to be takes place before commit or after commit? If it is taken place before commit log, we call immediate database technique. If this is appearing after the commit log, we call deferred database modification techniques. Two techniques. But observe a point, because database is affected before the commit log. Suppose if a failure occurs before it commits, commit log is written, but database is already changed to some new values. Because it is not committed, it has to be rolled back. It has to be changed to previous value. Because to change to previous values, now the update log is to maintain its old and new value. Old and new value means if a failure occurs after these three operations, but assume this buffer blocks, disk blocks are already updated. If failure occurs because no commit operation, it has to be rolled back, means recovery process is to be done. It means the A should be changed to the old value 1000 and B should be changed to old value 2000. Why? Because no commit operation is there. So that this log requires both old and new values. Here also you see when transaction 1 started and disk is updated before it commits. And these are the output of buffer blocks, and the order of buffer blocks to be updated should not be a matter, and whichever the order it wanted, it can update it. So that here BB, BC, BA is nothing but output of B, output of C, output of A affected to the disk. Okay, flushed into the buffer blocks. Now here it requires two operations. Before explaining the two operations, we call undo and redo. Just observe the example. Assume the value of A is 1000, B 2000, and C 700 before it starts. Here you observe T0 started, changing the value of A to 950. Assuming that the value of A 950 is affected to the disk immediately because immediate database modification, and 2050 is also affected. 2050 also affected to the disk. Because no commit operation, it means that this transaction is not completed. If it is not completed, what action is to be done? This 950 should be changed to 1000 this 2050 should be changed to 2000. It means it has to perform an operation called undo. We call undo. It is performing undo of the transaction T0. Now you look. If T0 started, updated A and B and committed. T1 started, updated C. It is updated A to 950, done. 2050, done. C changes to 700. Now look, because a failure occurs after this log record. Because T0 is already committed. Because T0 is already committed, is it required to perform undo operation on T0? No. Why? Because it is committed means these values are already there in the disk. This transaction is completed. Because it is completed, it doesn't require any operation. But if multiple transactions are executing simultaneously, to avoid the inconsistency, this log is to be redone. Redo of T0. But T1 has not committed. Because if it is not committed, the value of C already changed to 600. Because no commit operation, this 600 is not the correct value. Now this 600 should be changed back to again 700. This operation is called undo. Now undo of T1 is required. Means T0 is to be redone. T1 is to be undone. The third case you see. Now T0 started and committed. So that T0 has to be redone. T1 is started and committed because update of T1 is also correct. So that redo of T1. Redo is nothing but it has to changing the value to new value. Because say an example, 1000 is already changes to 950. But changing 950 to one more time 950 will cause any harm to the system? No. Changing 2050 to new value 2050 because it is already committed. No, we call it as idempotent. Actually, redo is required if multiple transactions are executing. It may change the state to incorrect state. That's why it is required to perform a redo operations if transactions contains both start and commit log. Now, immediate database technique required to use two operations. One we call undo and one we call redo. When undo is required, think when transaction has only start log but no commit. When redo is required, if it contains both start and commit. Both start and commit log. Okay. Now, these are the points are there in the slides. Here we have two recovery processes, techniques. We call undo and redo. We call undo and redo. When undo and redo is to be done, just observe a point. Transaction Ti needs to be undone if transaction has if log contains start and commit. If start and commit, start but not commit, and transaction need to be redone if it contains both start and commit. Just as a summary, you remember the technique. The immediate database modification requires two operations called undo and redo. Undo is required when the log contains start but not commit. Redone is required when the log contains both start and commit. Okay, this is an example. And one more problem is if transaction performs more number of updates, see transaction updating A, B, C, D, E, F, Z up to Z, assume. So many data items are there. After this, it is committing. Just imagine if a failure occurs after y, if a failure occurs before z. So means A to Y, it has performed an updates. A to Y, how many updates are there? Totally 25 updates are there. If any failure occurs, now the database system has to search the entire log. And searching the entire log is time consuming. And suppose if commit operations are already done, redoing is unnecessary. Previously we have seen. So in such cases, if a failure occurs, what is to be done? Read the entire log backwards and perform recovery in the forward direction and re-execute the transaction. It will take more time. We call it as a time consuming process. To avoid this problem, we have a technique called checkpointing. I hope you remember in operating system of computer operating system, we have an option called restore the computer to previous known good configuration. I hope you have seen when you are restoring the computer, previous known good configuration. What does it mean, previous known good configuration? Just think. So means if a crash occurs to your personal computer or a laptop, and you are restoring the laptop or a personal computer to previous known good configuration, so that restoring to the previous correct state. How it knows the previous good configuration? This is called a checkpointing technique. So means a transaction, whenever it is executing several updates like A, B, Z, D, F to up to J, and after some updates, I'm performing a checkpointing. Or else it is simple to understand. You are saving a document when you are typing it. Previously, when you are typing a document, in the frequent intervals, you have to click on save. Why? If power losses, your contents are safe till your last saved. It is just like the same technique called checkpointing. So checkpointing will avoid the problem of scanning the log entirely in the backwards and redoing the operations in the forward direction. That problem can be minimized. How? Output all log records, whatever is there in the main memory, into stable storage, into the permanent memory. First, you make that log is safe in the permanent memory. Output all modified buffer blocks, means if any updates are done by the transaction, that updates make sure that it is affected to the disk. And write a log record called checkpoint, means after say ABC, I wanted to put a checkpoint. After DEF, again I want to put a checkpoint. Likewise, if I put a checkpoint after 3 operations, I have a checkpoint after 3, 6, 9 till 9, 24, then continue. Say 24th one is W, X, 25th is Y, so means 25th letter is Y, 26th letter is Z. Now we understood the point that if a failure occurs after Y, here, before Z, now it requires to perform a recovery. How recovery is to be done? Instead of scanning the entire log, it has to scan the log to the most recent checkpoint. What is the most recent checkpoint? After 3 operations, I put a checkpoint. Means most recent checkpoint is at the 24th operation. Means you need not to perform re-execution of the earlier operations. You have to perform re-execution of operations from most recent checkpoint, that is 24th letter, that is X, then Y and Z. This only we have to consider it. It saves the time. That's why we have to write a log record checkpoint after some certain number of operations. Now, here During recovery, we need to consider only the most recent transactions. Just now I told you most recent transactions. Like, what is the most recent transactions? This is a 24th operation that is to be considered. Most recent transactions that started before the checkpoint and transaction that started after the checkpoint, that is only to be considered. Now, in the scanning backwards, so how to recover from the failure means you have to scan backwards. How long you have to scan backwards? Until it finds a point called checkpoint. Whenever it sees a checkpoint, it has to stop and continue scanning backwards until the first transaction before the checkpoint which was started is to be considered. Then it has to scan the log in the forward direction for the recovery process. And it has to perform undo and redo operations. It depends on the technique that you are using, whether you are using deferred database modification or immediate database modifications. Depends on that, you have to execute redo and undo operations. Here you observe a small example. Here transaction 1 started and committed. Started, committed, started, committed, started, and no commit is there. In these transactions that are executing serially, there are two checkpoints are maintained, checkpoint and checkpoint 2. So only one checkpoint is there. Here if a failure occurs, just you tell me what need to be done. If a failure occurs, if it is immediate database modification techniques, what is to be done? Now you can see T4 is started, but no commit operation is there. Start, no commit, it requires which operation? Undo of transaction T4. And T3 started committed. So it requires an operation called redo T3. Even T2 started, T2 committed. So it requires to perform T2 is also to be redone. But you observe T1 is started and committed before the checkpoint. Before the checkpoint means when checkpoint is in progress, these log records are there in the stable storage, and whatever the updates done by this transaction 1 also affected to the disk. Because it is already affected to the disk, is anything to be done with the log of T1? No. This is to be ignored. At any point, if because a checkpoint is in progress, at any point, because this transaction started and committed, it can be deleted from the log records also. So that what you understand, here we have a checkpoint and T4 is not committed, so it requires undo operation, and both T2 and T3 are committed, it requires a redo operation. T1 can be ignored because it is already there before checkpoint. It ensures that updates are done to the disk permanently. And both T2 and T3 having commit operation, it is to be redone. And finally, T4 having only read operation, start operation, but no commit undone. Now you can look this technique with concurrent transactions also. Okay, before that, I will show you some examples. Here is a question for you. Just read carefully. Assume an immediate database modification scheme. Consider the following log consisting of transaction 0, 1, 2, and this is a log. And what is the technique? Immediate database modification. In the immediate database modification, we have two recovery operations called undo and redo, right? Undo and redo. Now the log is mentioned, log is given, and the question is, for the above transaction schedule, crash occurs just after step 9, means here if a failure occurs, which of the following is correct way for recovery? So we know that when undo and when redo is to be done. When redo is required, if it is both start and commit lock, both start and commit lock. When undo is required, if it is having start but no commit. Observe the log and tell me. Scan the log backwards. In scanning log backwards, T2 is having start but no commit. Start but no commit means T2 is to be undone. T1 is committed. It means T1 is in the redo list. T1, T0 is also committed. Means T0 is also redone. And here you can see T0 start, T0, T1, T2, 3. So in that, because T2 do not have committed log, so that it is to be undone, and both T1 and T0 is having commit operation, it is to be redone. So what is the question? For the above transaction schedule, if a crash occurs just after step 9, which of the following is the correct way for recovery? What is the correct recovery? Undo T2, there is an option B, undo T2, redo T0, redo T1. So answer will be option B. This is one question which is there in the NPTEL exams. So I have collected a question and for your understanding explained it. Okay, there is an option B. And you observe one more question. Consider the following examples of a log of 2 transactions. Now this is with respect to deferred database modifications. In the deferred database modifications, we do have only redo log, redo operation, but no undo operation. Observe, when redo is required, if transaction log contains both start and commit log. And here you see T0 started, T1 started, T1 commit. Because T1 start commit is there, T1 is to be redone. Because T0 is having a start log but no commit log. Because start but no commit, so this log is completely to be ignored, because it is nothing to be considered. Because it need not be considered. Why? Because updates are delayed. Because updates are delayed, it is not required to be considered. So look for this question and answer the question. If a crash occurs just after step 6 and the recovery of the system is successfully completed, which of the following actions are true? Redo of T1 and no action on T0. T0 no action, T1 redo. Fine, there is an answer is option D. Fine. This is also one of the question collected from the NPTEL exams, and to explain you better with 2 techniques, immediate and deferred database modifications. And in these 2 techniques, how transactions are executing serially. Now I'll explain you with concurrent executions. If recovery with concurrent transactions, you can follow any of the techniques, that is immediate or deferred database modification techniques with concurrent execution. Here, along with checkpointing technique. Now here you can see a checkpoint record, checkpoint L. Here L indicates the list of active transactions, during the checkpointing, because concurrent transactions, now many transactions are executing concurrently. Whenever you are performing checkpoint at this point, and these are all active transactions, say 1, 2 and 3. So whenever a checkpoint is writing, so here it writes checkpoint T1, T2, T3 records. So we call L is nothing but list of transactions that are active. Previously we will have only one transaction active, because previous assumption is serial execution. Because serial execution only one transaction active, so we didn't mention any transaction identifier in the checkpointing. Now, because of concurrent transactions, we require to know what are the active transactions during the checkpoint. Here also it requires redo and undo operations, depends on the technique. Now, look at. Observe this log. T0 started, T0 commit, T1 start, T2 start, checkpoint. Here is a checkpoint. Here, whenever checkpoint is progressing, two transactions, both T1 and T2 are active. So T1 is started, no commit operation is there during the checkpoint, and T2 is also started, both are started. So no commit operations. And T0 start, T0 commit is there before the checkpoint itself. When checkpoint is in progressing, these updates are affected to the disk. Because it is affected to the disk, nothing to worry about this. And after checkpoint, T3 started, committed. Just observe a point. If a crash occurs after this point, it has to scan the log backwards. Whenever it is scanning the log backwards, it has to maintain two lists. We call undo and redo list. We call first thing in the recovery, it has to maintain two lists called undo list and redo list. Means which transactions need to be undone, which transactions to be redone, it has to be known. To find the redo and undo list, it has to scan the log backwards. In the scanning of log backwards, you maintain one list called undo and one list called redo. We know that redo is required if the log contains both start and commit. Undo only start but no commit. Look, T3 committed. Because committed, T3 should go into the redo list. Scan backwards. T3 start already there. Now checkpoint having two transactions, T1 and T2. Now both T1 and T2 not in the redo list. Not in the redo list means it ensures that while scanning the backwards, you didn't find commit, T1 commit and T2 commit. Because you didn't find T1 and T2 commit, so it is not in the redo list. You can put in the undo list. T1 and T2 put in the undo list. Fine. Suppose if we have a T2 commit operation here, something T2 commit. Because if it is T2 commit, T2 go into the redo list. Whenever it is going into the checkpoint technique, T1 and T2. Now T2 already in the redo list means it's not put in the undo list. Means you have in the list of transactions in the checkpointing, that list of transactions, if it is not in the redo list, it has to put in the undo list. Now scan the log backwards until a start transaction is found. Because both are in the undo list, now it can scan log backwards until it finds a start log for each transactions. For the recovery, what it will do, again it will scan the forward direction and perform undo and redo operations. This is with respect to concurrent executions, and nothing much to worry about concurrent executions, because we know the two techniques, immediate database modifications and deferred database modifications. Only the thing is the log records are overlapped in the concurrent executions. Rest of the technique is same, because you see T1 start, before T1 commit only T2 is started. Why? Because these are the concurrent executions. Now these are the list of few questions. Now just observe a question as a conclusion of the topic. Assume an immediate database modification scheme. Consider the log records of transaction T0, T1 and T2. Just observe this, take a moment and observe the log. What you can see, transaction 0 started, committed, started, checkpoint, start commit is there. Now what is the question? If there is a crash just after step 12, means here is a crash, and recovery of the system is successfully completed. Identify the incorrect action for the above scenario. So before checking the options, look at the log, and log is to be scanned backwards. And maintain two list we call redo and undo list. Okay. When redo list is to be maintained, if the transaction had a log, both start and commit. Just when I'm scanning backwards, I find T3 start but no commit, so that it is to be going to the undo list. Now T2 commit is there, because T2 commit is there, T2 should go into the redo list. And T2 start, because it is already there in the redo list, don't put in the undo list. Checkpoint T1. Now checkpoint T1 means while checkpoint is in progress, only T1 is active transaction. Because only T1 is active transaction, you check is T1 is in the redo list. No, so that you put in the undo list. And you need not to worry about any log before T1 start. Means again log is scanned backwards until T1 start is formed. Means up to this point it is scanned backwards. Now prepared a redo list and undo list. Redo list is only T2, undo list is both T3 and T1. Now, what is an option A? Redo list contains T2, correct? Undo list contains T3 and T1. It is correct. What is the question? Identify the incorrect action. Because it is correct action, option A is wrong. Why? Because question is about incorrect. Look, after recovery completion, the value of B will be 500. Okay, this is what is the values of A, B and C. Just observe. What is the value of A? Before it starts, here you can see T0A. First initially 100 changes to 200. Then 200 changed to 300. Next T1 started, we have a value B. B is 500, change it to 400. And T2 started, T2 is changing the value of A from 300 to 1500. These are the updates are there. Okay, and C is there, one more data, that C is initially 1000. And after this modification it is 2000. What operations is to be done? Redo and undo. First perform undo, then perform redo. Undo of T3 and T1. Undo of T3 and T1 means undo T3 change the value of C from 2000 to 1000. Now C is going to be changed. Here I am writing C is going to be changed to 1000 after recovery. Because T2 in the redo list T2 is performing change in A of 300 to 1500. So means it is affected into A. Now value of A after recovery it is 1500 only. After A it is 1500. Sorry. Okay. What is A? 1500. And backwards you look, T3, what we have done? T3 is completed, T2 completed, now T1. Now T1 is in the undo list. Now T1 changed the value of B from 500 to 400. Means it is to be undone. So that B is going to be again changed to 500. Now what are the updated values after this one? A is 1500, B is 500 and C is 1000. Look, option B, after recovery the value of B is 500. Yes, correct. The value of A is 1500. It is also correct. The value of C will be 1000. It is also correct. Because question is about incorrect option. Option C, B incorrect. Option C, first complete the undo operation of all transactions from the undo list, then perform the redo operation of all transactions from the redo list. It is perfectly right, because in the concurrent execution, first it performs undo, then it performs the redo operations. So A, B, C are the correct operations. Because question is about incorrect, then answer will be option D. So means option D is the correct answer for this question, because D is incorrect. So we can say D is the correct answer. Fine. Here we have some more questions I have included in the PPT. Just have a look of this question also. Consider the following state of transactions and the statements below. Here we have T1, T2, T3. It is indicating that start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. Start, no stop is there. No means no commit. Start and commit, start and commit. Here we have a checkpoint is in progress. Because when checkpoint is in progress, the transactions that are already committed, it ensures that these updates are there in the disk into the stable storage. So no problem at all with this T1 and T2. And T3 having start but no commit operation. Sorry, T3 is having start and commit, and it is during the checkpoint. Now T3 should go into the redo list. Redo T3. And T4 having start but no commit, so that T4 will go into undo list. Fine. And T1 and T2 can be ignored. No action is required on T1 and T2. Look, first one, T1 and T2 can be ignored, correct? T2 and T3 can be ignored. T2 can be ignored, but not T3. Why? Because T3 is active transaction during the checkpoint. It means some of the updates of T3 are not affected to the disk, so it requires to be redone. So second one wrong. T3 redone, correct. T4 undone, correct. T3 redone, correct, because T3 is having start and commit, and T4 having start but no commit, so it is undone. Identify the correct group of statements from the options below. 1, 2, 4, 2 is wrong, so that option B wrong. Option A wrong. Option B 1, 3, 4 is the correct one. Why? Because first one is correct, third one is correct, fourth one is correct. It is one of the option. So B is correct. Correct options. Okay, this is also one of the question I collected in the NPTEL exams for your better understanding. That's about the recovery management of two techniques: deferred database modification and immediate database modifications, along with checkpointing techniques. So we started with failure classifications. We have three types of failures: transaction failures, failure due to system crash, and disk crash. And we understood that if a failure occurs, system has to be recovered from the failure. So how system is going to recover from the failure? We have learned in the chapter we call recovery algorithms. In recovery algorithms, some actions to be taken before the transaction, before updates takes place, after the updates are taken place. We are mainly focusing on recovery and atomicity. For recovery and atomicity, we have a technique called log-based recovery techniques. Log-based recovery technique. This is there in the syllabus, and shadow paging is not there in the syllabus. What is log? Log is nothing but a record which maintains information about the transactions and its activities. Mainly, three log records are important, called start and update log and commit log. And we have two techniques based on this log-based and immediate database modifications. And deferred is nothing but we call delayed database modifications. So means database modification is to be delayed. It means first it writes a commit log to the log of log records, then it writes updates to the disk. And here we have only one operation, redo. When redo is required, if it has both start and commit log records. And we have seen an example on it. And there are three cases. Here I told you ignore the log. Here T1 start and commit is there, we call redo, and T2 have no commit, ignore the log. Here both our commits are there, so so that both are to be redone. These are the cases. No redo in the first case, and in the second case redo of T0, and because it is having commit operations, and T2 is to be ignored. And in T3, both redo T0 and redo T1 is required. And immediate database modification says modification is to be done first to the disk, then only it writes a transaction commit log into the log records. That's what we see. First it is updating, then writing commit. First it is updating, then it is writing commit. That is what we call immediate database modifications. It has two operations, undo and redo. Undo is nothing but just undoing it. Redo means again repeating the updates. And undo is required when it is having start but not commit. Redone is required when it is having both start and commit. Here we have seen example for this case because no commit, undo it. Here commit is there, redo, no commit, undo T1. Here commit is there, redo T0 because commit is there, redo of T1. Here undo T0, redo T0, it is undo T0. Here redo T0, undo T1, redo T0, and redo T1 because started commits are there. And so the problem with the operations are checkpointing. So problem with the operations are searching the entire log is time consuming and unnecessarily we are performing redo operations. And it is a time consuming process because as I explained, if many data items are writing, so in such cases undoing and redoing will take more time, harming the performance. So that we go with the checkpointing techniques. In the checkpointing technique, periodic checkpointing put it so that whenever a failure occurs, we have to go to the most recent. We have to go to the most recent checkpoint only. That's it. Here, this is a checkpointing technique, and this is an example we have seen. When checkpointing is in progress, whatever the transaction, its updates are there to disk, so that is to be ignored. And we have to consider only those transactions that are active during the time of checkpointing and some transaction which is there after the checkpointing. Here T1 is ignored, T2 is having commit, start and commit, so redone. Here also T3 having start and commit, redone. T4 is having start but no commit, undone. Right, this can be ignored, T1 can be ignored, T2 and T3 will be redone and T4 will be undone. And same technique we follow for the concurrent transactions. Here we have seen an example how checkpoint is to be done. When checkpointing is done, just only we have to have a list of transactions that are active during the execution. Means if many transactions are active, so we have to maintain all transactions during the checkpointing. And here also the same process, undo and redo list. First you have to prepare both undo and redo list and perform undo and operations first, then perform redo operations next accordingly. Here we have discussed a few questions. One question is on immediate database modification I discussed, and one question on default database modifications, and one question on concurrent executions, how it is, and I discussed one more question on concurrent executions. Okay.